Have you ever found yourself trapped in a cycle where it feels like no matter how hard you try, you just can't seem to break free? You're constantly treading water, trying to stay afloat, but every time you think you're about to catch a break, something pulls you back under. That's exactly where I found myself not too long ago. Every month, like clockwork, my credit card balance would climb to $2,000 or $3,000, and each month I'd pay it off, thinking I was doing the responsible thing. But the second that balance hit zero, my bank account would be empty too. So what would I do? I'd pull out my credit card again for groceries, gas, or whatever else I needed to get by, and the cycle would start all over. I thought I was doing okay after all. I wasn't carrying a balance on my credit card. But the truth is, I wasn't moving forward either. I was stuck in this endless loop, and every time I tried to save a little bit of money, life had other plans. My car, for example, seemed to have an uncanny sense of when I had a little extra cash in my pocket. It would break down just as I was starting to build a small savings cushion, and the repair costs would wipe out whatever I had managed to set aside. It was frustrating, to say the least. I knew I needed to break this cycle, but I couldn't figure out how. I wanted to switch back to using my debit card for everyday purchases and only use my credit card for emergencies, but it seemed impossible. The small cash-back rewards I was earning from my credit card weren't worth the constant stress of having no real money in my bank account. I'm 26, and I make about $3,400 a month. Not a fortune, but not terrible either. I've got $8,500 in student loan debt at a 4% interest rate. The minimum payment on my loan is $150 a month, but I've been paying $150 to try to knock it down faster. My rent is $1,100 a month, so after that and my loan payment, I'm left with around $2,100 for everything else: groceries, gas, bills, and those inevitable car repairs. I thought maybe I could cut back on my student loan payment and save that extra $100 a month. But then I'd feel guilty for not paying down my debt as quickly as I could. It's a constant tug-of-war between wanting to save for emergencies and wanting to get rid of my debt faster. One day, I decided enough was enough. I had to make a plan, even if it wasn't perfect. First, I looked at my spending and started tracking every dollar. I realized I was spending more than I needed to in certain areas. Things like eating out and impulsive online shopping were adding up more than I thought. I knew that if I wanted to build an emergency fund, I had to cut back on those non-essential expenses. Next, I created a bare-bones budget. I allocated $1,100 for rent, $250 for my student loan payment, and set a strict limit on my other expenses. My goal was to save at least $100 a month no matter what. It wasn't a lot, but it was a start. I also decided to set up an automatic transfer to a separate savings account as soon as I got paid. That way, the money would be out of sight, out of mind. It wasn't easy at first. There were months when I had to dip into my savings for an unexpected expense, but I tried to minimize those withdrawals as much as possible. Another thing I did was to stop using my credit card for everything. I kept it for true emergencies, like if my car broke down and I didn't have enough in savings to cover it. For all my regular expenses, I used my debit card. It forced me to live within my means and really think about every purchase I made. Over time, these small changes started to add up. My savings account slowly grew, and I began to feel a little less stressed about money. I still had my student loan, and I was still paying the minimum, but I knew that once I had a solid emergency fund, I could focus on paying down that debt faster. It wasn't an overnight transformation, and there were definitely setbacks along the way. But by being mindful of my spending, sticking to a budget, and making saving a priority, I finally started to break free from the cycle of living paycheck to paycheck. It's a process, and I'm still working on it, but I'm in a much better place now than I was before. So if you're feeling stuck, like you can't get ahead no matter what you do, know that you're not alone. It might seem impossible at times, but with small, consistent steps, you can start to regain control of your finances and build a more secure future for yourself. Just remember, it's about progress, not perfection. Thanks for watching. Subscribe Money Island for more new personal finance stories.